Well, we've got a good number of people here, and we're about two after. So, Megan, if you are ready, we can go ahead and get started.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the El Toro webinar called Where Did the Leads Go and How to Win Them Back. We were lucky enough to share part of this talk at the Certified Contractors Network conference in Florida last month, and we are very excited to be talking with you today about marketing your home service business and how you can more effectively reach new customers. Quick show of virtual hands, or you can sound off in the comments. How many of you feel like your SEO rankings look fine, but your calls, quote requests, or form fills are down? If you're sitting there thinking, okay, yes, maybe that's me, before anyone panics, we promise you, you're not broken, but something did change. Before we begin today, we are curious. What vertical of the home services industry do you work in? So go ahead and select your vertical now. My name is Kaitlyn Streicher. I'm an account executive at El Toro, and I am joined today by Meghan Jones, our Vice President of Business Development. For those of you who are not familiar with our company, El Toro is a digital ad tech company born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville, if you're not from here and you don't pronounce it the way we do here. We have been around for over 13 years, and we are the experts in all things ad tech related. If you have any questions throughout this webinar, please pull up the Q&A window. This is a separate window from the chat, but we will have support who will be answering as many questions as we can while we go. And if we don't get to them during this call, we will be sure to follow up with you via email. So it does look like the poll results are in. Our top three leading industries on the call today appear to be windows, painting,
Great.
and siding. Thank you all for participating. We appreciate your engagement. I am going to hand things over to Meghan. She is a digital marketing expert who has extensive experience optimizing campaigns for maximum impact. We're excited to walk you through how cookie-free targeting works and answer any questions you may have. Let's dive in.
Okay, thanks, Kaitlyn. That's pretty interesting. Windows, definitely. Please message me after this, actually. So back to really quickly about El Toro, and wanted to have an important clarification right up front, and that El Toro is not an agency. No one El Toro is going to be able to redesign your logo or write some great blog posts for you. We have many wonderful agency partners. I wouldn't be surprised there's probably some connected on this call today. But what we do have, as Kaitlyn mentioned, is a patented technology that allows us to reach actual households across all their connected devices. So think TVs, phones, tablets, laptops. We make sure your digital ads don't go to bots. They go directly to those homeowners. And because we work with a lot of home service companies across the country, we get a front row seat to changes in homeowner behavior, especially how people search for and choose those contractors. So this talk is actually focused on what's changing. It's not so much really about El Toro, but just what's going on and how you can adapt. And if you want to go deeper afterwards, we'll have some time, like Kaitlyn said, for Q&A, as well as some information on how to connect with us after the webinar. Right? So back to Kaitlyn's first question here. Why are my calls down? Here's what we keep hearing from home service business owners. We didn't change anything, but leads are down. Our website traffic is down 20, 30%. Are people just not searching anymore? Has everyone just been using Pinterest to fix things themselves? Good news for you. Bad news for homeowners like my friend whose house here got wrecked by a windstorm recently. People still need roofs. Windows still break. HVAC units and heaters still die on the coldest and hottest days of the year. These homeowners are absolutely still searching for help. But the path they take when they're searching for your help, when they, for example, find a gigantic nest of bees in their chimney, like another friend of mine did recently. I don't know if there's any pest control companies here. But the path they take has changed. You didn't do anything wrong. The demand didn't disappear. The path to get to you is really different. And search engines have essentially changed their store layout, and many homeowners never even make it to your website anymore. So let me explain. Think of the internet like a hardware store. Your customer walks into Home Depot with questions about their roof, their floors, their siding, paint, their HVAC system. And they used to walk all the way down the aisle and they could pass every brand, every option, and discover you and your website along the way. That journey let them see what you offer, read your reviews, and also call for a quote. Now, imagine Home Depot changes something. They hire the world's smartest home service expert and put him right at the front door before the customer even walks inside. So this genius tells them, oh, here's what it costs. Here's how long it takes. Here's what to look out for. And here's what most people do next. The customer gets the answers that they're looking for and they leave satisfied. They never walk to your aisle. You didn't do anything wrong. The customer flows just changed completely. And that's exactly what's happening with Google and AI search. About 50 to 65% of searches now end without a click. Search engines are giving people answers at the top of that search page now, so they don't have to click into your website to get that information that they're looking for. And this is really ultimately hurting local service businesses the hardest. A lot of times we're seeing anywhere from 15 to 40% drop in website traffic just in the last year. So even if you rank well, fewer people are ever going to reach your website, and that's the new normal. So while SEO is absolutely still important, not to say that, definitely still relevant, but now is really the time to start thinking answer engine. And like I mentioned earlier, El Toro is not an ad agency. There's probably other folks that can help you more extensively with this. But we are a tech company and we use large language models and AI in a variety of our own products. And we understand that AI search looks for clear answers, not clever copy. So, with that in mind, there are some things that you can do now for free that will help you get pulled into these conversations as customers look for you in new ways. So, for example, take the questions homeowners actually ask you and put that question at the top of a page on your website. Answer it plainly and then add the detail below. So, for example, why is my air conditioning line covered in ice? Again, this used to happen to me all the time at my old house. Just give that short answer first, turn it off immediately. This will prevent the system from making more ice. Then below that, provide that additional detail. Turn off the unit and turn on the fan to help melt the ice, then check to see if the air filter is the problem and possibly replace that. That thing is so hard to remember to change. That was always the issue. But the point here is to make the website answer actual homeowner questions in a clear, simple format that AI can find and easily use. Hence, having that single line of initial information first and then the detail below it. That sort of format is what it's looking for. So here's a few other examples to think about, but I'm sure everybody on this call could probably think of 5 or 10 more just before the end of this webinar. But a couple examples are like, how long does your does a roof replacement take? Do I need permits for new windows? What are signs of siding damage? How much does flooring installation cost? How much does it cost to paint my whole house? I've definitely looked for that before. Remember to keep it simple, local, and conversational, like you're talking to a neighbor over the fence or like a close family member asking for advice about their home. But depending only on search AI or SEO in 2026 is like opening a store and just hoping people drive by. You really can't grow a business on hope. So if people are getting answers without clicking on anything, you're missing out on potential new leads every day. And you need at least one channel that doesn't rely on clicks or reactive types of channels to reach those homeowners. And Kaitlyn, I'd like to loop you back in here actually. I know you are working with several new partners recently since we've gotten back from CCN. Have any of them mentioned that they a lot of times have crews do door knocking after a job?
Yes, actually, this is used quite frequently, and it does work well because the neighbors of clients' homes often share similar lifestyles, they face similar weather patterns, and they encounter similar challenges. So it is a natural fit. That said, with the strategy, it can be highly effective in theory, but often there's no reliable way to ensure consistent follow through. So sometimes no one is home when the contractor arrives, or people get busy and they forget. So tracking exactly which homes have been followed up with can become a real challenge for some. And those doing the knocking, it's hard to keep track of. And the sales team that's supporting them back at the office often struggle as well.
hmm I mean, yeah, it's a lot to juggle. There's a lot of variables to take into account if you're taking this approach. And those crews are spending time getting in front of those neighbors, making sure they get that message. But it is a great play, and it's one that we do encourage clients to take advantage of. But the strategy makes sense because of the similarities with the homes. Also, people love to copy their neighbors. If you see a neighbor has a nice looking new front door, it makes perfect sense to ask that neighbor who the company that helped them with that product in the install. So with El Toro, we can do the same thing, but we just do it digitally. We can reach these households directly even if they never click a search result or visit the site. We place your brand in front of these homeowners as they are browsing the internet, watching TV, or checking out a short video online. This allows you to build reputation in neighborhoods where you already work. And this exact program is why we have so many home service clients across the country. It allows them to be hyper localized in their digital approach without having to rely on clicks or search or even people knocking on neighbors' doors. So, in addition to reaching neighbors, a lot of home service companies already have great information about who they want to sell their services to. So, household IP targeting allows you to match a physical address to the internet connected devices in that specific home. So that means you can reach the household itself, not just a broad audience or someone who happens to be searching at just the right moment. And where this becomes particularly useful is for home services is in these three very common situations. The first is for prospects who have requested a quote but never booked an appointment. So these are really high intent homeowners. They've already found you, you've done a ton of the work and gotten in front of them that way. But life got busy, timing wasn't right. Their kids needed their attention. Happens to Kaitlyn and I all the time. And they just kind of forgot to follow back up and book that appointment. This is a great way to make sure you don't lose them entirely. You can stay visible to the household. And ultimately, a lot of times we will help shorten the time it takes for them to finally come back and book. Second is customers that might have been older customers and are due for a service checkup, whether it's seasonal maintenance, a recurring service, or sometimes we'll even have one-time customers if you have a subscription program that we can get to convert into more of a sticky customer in that subscription type of a client. This gives you a way to stay present without relying just on email opens or waiting for the next emergency. And last one on here I wanted to mention is if you're already doing direct mail, which a lot of clients in this space do still too, it typically works really well. But adding IP targeting with it to that same exact household usually helps to increase the response rate without having to increase the number of times that you're mailing that household or that area. So all that to say, if you don't have a list, there are some other ways that we can create new acquisition audiences for you outside of what we're talking about here, which is really how we can leverage data that you might have. So one of the most valuable new audiences for homeowners, if we're talking more about acquisition, is to get in front of people who are in the moving process. So when someone moves, they're actively looking for a new list of providers, and a lot of times it's from scratch. They haven't formed any loyalties yet, and which this makes this window really valuable for a lot of contractors. So what's important to keep in mind though is that not every mover is the same. There's these really three distinct parts of the moving life cycle, and we're able to get in front of those homeowners at every stage there. So the first one is pre-movers. These are people who've just listed their home, and these households are often planning ahead. They're thinking about inspections, repairs, or upgrades before selling or right after moving. I'm thinking probably a lot of those painting companies are likely going to get some clients in that type of a group. Escrow kind of similarly, but they're in that in-between phase. So their house is under contract, but they have not yet moved, and decisions are happening pretty quickly as they're getting services lined up. And then finally, that new mover category, which we use most frequently. As soon as you turn on your Wi-Fi and move into that new residence, we can start reaching out to you for some services that you're going to be looking for. Like, when I don't know why this always happens, but you move into a new home and everything breaks all of a sudden. Like, it looked fine in the inspection, but the last time I moved to a new house, like the HVAC unit needed to be replaced within a month of us moving in there. Obviously, you're going to have the pest control people come in if you've got, bugs and mosquitoes, all that kind of stuff, like bees, like my one friend had, lawn care, plumbing, security. This is just a great moment to introduce yourself as their go-to provider when they're looking for all these types of services and their go-to person. So even for services that aren't immediately urgent, it's a powerful awareness window at the very least, and being present early helps increase the likelihood that when something does come up, they already recognize your brand. So why does El Toro and these approaches work particularly well for home services? First, it reaches homeowners directly. You're not guessing based on their behavior, you're reaching the actual households. The second is that it includes connected TV, which means your message isn't just showing up on a phone, it's showing up on the TV in the living room amongst the entire family where decisions are often made together for the whole household. And third, it's not affected by AI summaries or zero-click behavior that we're seeing with that AI search. Because as that continues to change, relying solely on people clicking ads or filling out forms becomes riskier. And this gives you a way to stay visible even with fewer people that are clicking. And finally, it helps to reinforce your brand locally. So home services is built on trust, familiarity, and local presence. And this approach really helps to support that without requiring constant promotions or discounts. So to wrap up, here is your new 2026 Leads Playbook. First is update your website with that Q&A content for those answer engines. Remember to answer real homeowner questions in simple, clear language in that format that AI can find. The second is to understand that there is a new customer journey. Homeowners get answers a lot of times before they click, and just adapting to this reality will help put you in the best position this year. The third is to be proactive in your marketing efforts and reach out to homeowners before they are looking for you. So focusing on neighbors of satisfied customers who already trust you can be a really great place to start for that. And finally, just keep diversifying. Look for channels to invest in that are not reliant on search, and multiple channels will help keep leads steady as behavior around search does continue to shift. So if your SEO leads are down, relax, you didn't fail. Marketing did not suddenly get bad. The internet just remodeled the store, like we talked about. To wrap things up, we wanted to offer something genuinely useful and really low pressure for everybody that's joined the call today. So if you've completed jobs in the last 30 days, there's a very strong chance your next best customers live really nearby. So we are offering to create your 30-day neighbor opportunity map that will provide a heat map of where that opportunity exists based on where those recent customers were and some insight into why those households matter right now. There's no demo, no pitch required, no obligation. This will just be a benefit for you and a thank you for joining the call and sitting with us today. So all we will need is a short list, even just 20 or 30 completed job addresses from the last month is sufficient to show that opportunity. And if that sounds helpful, you can request it in the link in the chat. I think Ari's going to pop that link in there. And we'll also have an email follow-up with this recording as well as a link to this form as well if you'd like to get that map. Right.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. A special thanks again to Meghan, our Vice President of Business Development, for sharing her valuable insights and expertise. We hope you found the session helpful and thought-provoking. If you'd like to dive deeper or discuss how these strategies could potentially work for your business, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to continue the conversation. Meghan and I are both going to hang on here for a few more minutes to answer, I believe there's about 3 questions that came in through the presentation. Otherwise, we thank you again for attending and we will chat with you all soon.
Okay, I'll grab this first question here, Kaitlyn. Okay, what makes your attribution model better than standard clicks for showing which ads turn into real jobs? That's a great question. That's one that we get a lot. We had this conversation a lot at CCN too. I feel like where so much of digital channels, the last click attribution is really difficult for home services because not many people are going to see your ad and click on it and buy a new window. It's really a longer sales cycle and consideration process. So what we do at El Toro, and we didn't really include much about this in the webinar today, but our matchback analysis is a different way that we'll look at your return, and it's based on, since we know these are the specific addresses that are receiving your campaign, we get the list of leads or sales back from the client that we're working with, just the mailing addresses, and we can cross-reference which of the ones that were part of the exposed group ended up actually becoming a lead or a sale so that we can see that true return on ad spend, not just who clicked and how many impressions.
Awesome. So this next question is, if I provide a list of 10 completed jobs, how large of a neighbor list will I typically receive back for my marketing? So when you give us a list of completed jobs, we use our digital canvassing solution to reach nearby homes that look and behave like your best customers. Typically, each job turns into anywhere from a dozen to a few hundred nearby households, depending on the density of the area. So even a small list of 10 jobs can expand to hundreds or even thousands of highly relevant prospects. Again, it just depends on the area. But the goal isn't just volume, it's more surrounding your proven service areas with homeowners who are actually most likely to need the same type of work.
Yeah, it really does vary. Higher density population is the one where it'll generate a bunch, but I mean, it works in both cases too for the more suburban households.
Mhm.
Um, okay, here's another question of does El Toro have any other products that show promising results in the home services space? Yes, so these three that we went over today they tend to be kind of the home runs and easy ones that we always see a very positive return on ad spend for. But if you've got something that's a little bit different, or if you're growing into a new area and you're trying to really heavily focus on acquisition, we do also have the ability to build an acquisition list of households. And a lot of times we'll try and use your CRM as the starting guide to say, what are the zip codes, the areas, what's the profile of your current customer, what's their typical household income, and we'll be able to build out a list of household addresses that fit that profile in the territory that you want to reach, and then we can run a campaign to those specific homes in the same way.
Great. Thank you, Megan. Those were all really great questions. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and we look forward to connecting with each of you all very soon. Have a
Yeah,
great day.
absolutely. Thank you all.